Hello and welcome to Hitting Home with Mike and Arif, and I'm in my Zoom studio here. Arif is in Prescott, Ontario, on the shores of the St. Lawrence River. It looks like a nice day there today, Arif. Nice weather. You're making your way back from Ottawa, I understand.
I am. It's an absolutely beautiful day in the wonderful, wonderful town of Prescott, Ontario. I've got a lighthouse. I'm right at the visitor center. There's a beautiful marina. We've got the shores of the United States on the other side, and it's amazing, Mike. For the last several months, the United States has been one of our most distant partners on the world stage, obviously with very limited to any traffic going back and forth. And no, I didn't pick this to do the show, but I think it's timely as we talk about sort of life in our current state. And why don't
Yes.
we get right into, Mike, how we see neighborhoods and cities and municipalities taking a leading role in quality of life as people really redefine how life will go, certainly
Well,
for the foreseeable future.
yes. And redefine is the key word. I mean, we've had an incredible experience, life experience, all of us collectively with COVID. And we've talked a lot about COVID. I want to kind of talk beyond COVID in this show.
Sure.
And it's a good time to, like, I want to call it Barry 2.0 was the rough draft for the show title here. It's a good time to reset the clock in a lot of ways. Where do we want to go as a city? We are growing. You were telling me just before we started, you read an article, I think it was in the Star, about how the exodus continues or is ramping up of people coming from the GTA to our region to live. Maybe you want to talk a little bit about what you read there that fits in.
Sure, Mike, and really putting it in a nutshell, we all talk about things as they impact our lives most directly, and one of those things, obviously, is certainly for the housing market, and certainly for us as residents of Simcoe County and Barrie in particular. How does the current trend impact our lives from a dollars and cents perspective? Is the market healthy? Is there supply and demand?
Hmm.
Are we going to see an increase in prices and bidding wars? I'm hearing from more and more clients that they're getting into some form of a bidding war. The professionals spoke over the last several months about anticipating a considerable crash. And while that may be true somewhere, I think what we're going to prove one more time is that there is no such thing as a Canadian real estate market, because as employers have figured out over the last several months that their employees can work from home, and
Yeah.
therefore they can actually keep their employees working, and maybe incentivize them with a little bit more technology at home. Those same employees don't have to any longer live in the GTA. They can find what they would consider to be a more suitable quality of life, perhaps outside of the GTA, perhaps in the Barrie area, where they can find more home and
Yep.
more property for a similar price or even a fraction of the price. And those same employers can also bow out of their existing commercial leases. So call it a win-win for everybody,
Yeah.
except for when you live right here in Simcoe County and Barrie in particular. Even if it's just a fraction of the percentage of the people leaving the GTA are choosing our region in Barrie and Simcoe County, that fraction is going to weigh on the numbers, and
Yeah.
certainly
It's
weigh on the
significant.
pricing. Yeah, exactly. So why don't you take it away
Yeah.
from a
And
realtor's
for sure,
perspective,
and
Mike?
and and as you said, we're not a Canadian market; it's regional. Much like the weather, real estate is regional, region to region, and our market locally has and continues to be influenced by immigration from the Golden Horseshoe area coming into our region. And you used the term react, and that is part of the job of city council is to react. But I like the term proactive as well. And what are we doing? And that's sort of what we're going to talk about a bit today, I think, is what are the things we can and should be doing? And this is not science. This is yours and my personal opinions, both being residents, both having our experiences and vary through our jobs with you as a city councilor. And that, what are some of the things we'd like to see done more of, done better, done differently, that is going to continue to make us a growing, healthy, vibrant economy, a great place to live, and just put us or keep us on the map, or maybe make our prominence on the map that much more worthy of our pride. you have a great waterfront behind you there in Prescott. One of the
That came to
things
mind though when you
that
were sharing the
very
idea or the concept for what.
go ahead.
Oh, sorry, Mike. Yeah, we had a little bit of an audio glitch there, Mike. But one of the things that you mentioned in your notes was sort of the role that the municipality could play. And I guess the question that I would have is, who is the audience that a mayor and a city council would be speaking to? You talked not just about react, but proact. But if we're
Yeah.
defining what is the makeup of our community, sure, we're going to continue to have manufacturing and industrial plants and operations. But
Hmm.
when you look at the percentage of the population that works more in an administrative type of a role or an office environment, where perhaps those offices and that sort of the dynamic or the venue in which an office environment is held and entertains its employees, if you see more and more people working from home and we're breaking away from sort of the nucleus or the heartbeat of an operation, homes, that's actually the
Hmm.
definition of the World Wide Web, by the way, is multiple computers all over
Yeah.
the world. So there isn't one central computing location. Now, who is the audience that a mayor and council is speaking to?
Yeah.
Who are they attracting in terms of quality of life and services that are
Yeah.
being provided?
Well, the work from home thing will be a more significant part of our overall economy, but it's not going to be our new economy as a whole. It'll be there still will be a need, and I think there'll even be a resurgence back to the office environment by some people who experiment with this, because you want that camaraderie, you want that team spirit. So it'll work for some, it won't work for others. Some will try it, some will revert back or have a blend of the two. But I think in terms of attracting business, like you say, who are we speaking to? Certainly to the residents, but certainly to industries that we want to attract here. And one of the things we keep coming back to, and we talked about this, you and I earlier, about is this not a good time for our provincial government to revisit the idea of trying to attract a university to the Barrie region? Because nothing would bring industry and commerce and an enhancement to our overall economy more so than having a university here in Barrie. Do you think it's time
Terrific.
to bring
Yeah,
that
well,
back?
Mike, let's keep our audience in suspense as to what I think. We're going to go and take a quick break on Rogers TV Barrie, and we'll be right back, and we'll pick up this conversation on what does Barrie 2.0 look like post COVID, and how are we going to redefine our neighborhoods and our municipalities going forward. We'll be right back with Hitting Home with Mike and Arif on Rogers TV Barrie. And welcome back to Hitting Home with Mike and Arif from Rogers TV Barrie. And I'm here actually in Prescott, Ontario, along the St. Lawrence River. It's a beautiful location. It's a beautiful town if you've never had the chance to get out sort of partway between Kingston and Ottawa on the journey back. I'm heading back from Ottawa, and in the background you can see a beautiful marina, much like we have in Barrie, but this one actually in the distance on the other side there, you get to see parts of the United States. And so if you're noticing a bit of a dropout in my signal, I apologize. I'm in Parkland. I'm in a Parkland, socially distanced from other people who are enjoying a beautiful waterfront. And you might also hear some of the sounds of nature and those who are taking care of nature, being those with leaf blowers and weed whackers, etc. But Mike, you're in the middle of a tickle trunk somewhere. I'm not sure where you're located today.
At the home office, the home studio here.
Excellent. Well, it's good
not
to
as
see
nice
you.
a backdrop as you have there, for sure.
No. Well, we're talking before we went to break. We're talking about how do we re-envision, or how do we realize and make the best of the situation that we're in, where nobody can doubt that the world has changed. And we're talking about the role that a municipality and mayors and council can take. And you asked me just before what my thoughts are on whether or not we get a university, and I'm actually twist that just to and talk about the fact that it's not so much, in my opinion, going forward as to whether an economic development team from a municipality should be wooing or what's the word, courting a move for a commercial or an industrial operation to the local municipality. But we may now be seeing an influx of people who've decided that they no longer need to live in the GTA, and that they can find a healthier, balance or a greater quality of life in an area such as Simcoe County or Barrie. And when you look at that, it's not just attracting businesses to move to the area, but it's attracting the workforce. We used to talk
Yeah.
about sort of with our, looking down our nose at the bedroom community, but we may now be seeing a significant increase in people who are able to work from home, save on a 3-hour commute round trip to the GTA, whether it's through mass transit or sitting on the highway. And what are we going to do to embrace those people or attract those people to enjoy a quality of life
Well,
here
that's
in
the
our region?
question, and the question is, what are the things those people need that we can offer that will attract them here? Technology-wise, I would think having across the board high speed. We're moving into 5G is the next realm for cellular technology, high
Right.
speed for internet. So long as we have that, then we're a good candidate. Certainly geographically, we're one of the better candidates, just being within an hour
We are.
of such a major metropolis, that Barrie will be a testing ground for that new work from home concept that's quickly evolving everywhere. But I think certainly Barrie is going to play a major role in that. What are some of the other things that you think Barrie can and should do, or maybe is doing, that makes us a good candidate as a satellite work from home community to live in?
Well, I think here's the thing. I've got a bit of an inside voice going on. I actually believe that there's going to be a certain segment of our populations that's going to say, build a wall. We don't want any more traffic in here. We like
Oh,
things the
there'll
way they
always
were.
be those.
In fact, there were people who said in the 70s and 80s, build the wall. We don't want any more people. But I think if we're being fair to ourselves and we're recognizing the fact that there are people who have commuted because they chose their professional career that they did or whatever, but they've long wanted a better quality of life for their families. And well, we truly should welcome that as long as they bring and contribute something to our local community as
Yeah.
well. But when you look at who's the makeup, what's the genetic makeup or what's the make uh, demographic makeup of people who are going to move to the area, I think we're going to see an increasingly diverse culture come to the area. So how should we
Oh, it's
respond?
happening.
Well, it is already happening. But how should we prepare though? I think we should be prepared to embrace new foods, new restaurants,
Yeah.
new culture, new arts.
Well,
And a lot of people say,
those,
well, the arts don't
yeah.
bring any money. And I think you'd be seriously off track if you actually believe that the arts isn't part of the economy. It is, and it's part of quality of
Yeah.
life.
And a
And I
lot of
think,
that will happen organically. It will
yeah,
be those people from those various cultures coming here and forming their community groups and opening those restaurants and, presenting their arts to the public. How the city of Barrie embraces those and accommodates and provides a platform for that is is what will be influential. And Barrie certainly does have an open mind with regards to embracing all cultures and the arts for sure. And there's always been that battle that the arts.
yeah,
I don't even
Mike,
want to get into that, but
I don't necessarily think. Yeah, yeah. Sorry, I might have stepped on you there a bit, Mike. But I don't necessarily we're going to think that we're going to see a mass exodus of commerce as we know it. As sort of, I think Bay Street will still remain Bay Street. I think head
oh, for sure.
offices may still be there. I think the workforce is going to be spread out. And so, what I would suggest is, while we may not see a massive shift in what the makeup is of the actual leasehold or commercial storefront of the economy, I think what we're going to see is revenue from sort of after tax dollars being spent, a greater amount being spent in our local economy. So I think with those who are part of the labor force or workforce living here, they'll be spending their hard-earned dollars locally in our community. So I think that's going to be the biggest shift that we're going to see. We'll see a shift
Hmm.
in density. We'll see a shift in the make of our communities by way of an increased population.
Right.
I don't know that we'll see a massive shift in terms of commerce. I do think we'll see dollars being spent more locally, and dollars vote, right? That's what people want. So there are
Yep.
people who commute or drive or stay in after work, stay in the GTA because they enjoy a certain element, whether it's arts, culture, entertainment, whether,
Mhm.
whatnot. And I think that'll be the demand that we see locally here, a
Yeah.
response. If people are savvy to it, if people are sort of predicting what the future will be, is those small businesses or medium-sized businesses will plan for an increase in population.
Yeah. And we are a Simcoe County wide show, but we oftentimes default to talking about Barrie quite a bit, just because it is our largest municipal region. But with consideration of Simcoe County, Barrie is the commerce center for a lot of people. People come here to shop, people come here for entertainment, people come here to go to their doctor, their dentist. Um, we are a hub, and when we talk about, you often default in your mind to think, okay, Barrie, we're 150,000 people. Add to that another two or 300,000 people who are within a half an hour, 40 minutes, who come here
That's right.
frequently. And so as we go forward, uh, I think the environment's here for businesses to take those chances to start up a mom and pop shop, whatever it may be. They will survive. They will get the people coming through. Um, some of the bigger businesses, some of them are still coming here. Some of them are growing. I just heard this week Napoleon, which is one of Barrie's largest employers, is looking to hire another 100 people. I'm not sure if that's to replace 100 that may have dropped out over the course of COVID, or if that's in addition to their payroll that they had prior to COVID. But either way, it's still a good number to hear, and it's nice to hear that. And I'm hearing
Mike?
from a number of different employers. They're looking for people locally. So there is opportunity to work here in Barrie.
Absolutely. I think that's the key. There is opportunity. We're going to take an opportunity real quick to go to break. I hope you'll stay with us on Hitting Home with Mike and Arif from Rogers TV Barrie, and we'll be right back to pick up the story, and I'll give you my answer on whether or not I see an opportunity for a university right here in our region. Stay with us. Welcome back to Hitting Home with Mike and Arif, and I'm here in beautiful Prescott, Ontario. Mike, you're at home, and listen, we took care of business. Let's now get into the topic of the university. In a nutshell, I think there's a great opportunity here to revisit the conversation about bringing in a university to Simcoe County, if not Barrie itself. A couple of things to think about, though. Obviously, the municipality, the province, and the federal government are facing severe debt challenges, certainly because of COVID. Are they going to spend money on a university? Well, I don't know. I think that the demand is there. And I think that if you're looking at not creating overpopulated, concentrated areas, and they've got enough in the downtown area, and they want to stop people from commuting to the downtown area. I think there is an opportunity to service the several 100,000 people, probably 900,000 people who would be in a commuting radius to the Barrie area. Obviously, not all 900,000 people are going to go to university here, but
and we have people coming. Yeah, we have people coming from all over the world to attend our community college here, and there's room for both a community college and a university here. And employers do like to live near where their young, freshly educated recruits are going to be. We see that in Kitchener, Waterloo, London area, where the tech industry is set up. So there's that opportunity as well. But certainly we have the population. Certainly we've visited this before with a previous government. That did not work out in our favor. It was kind of felt like bidding for the Olympics, the way that went down. And I don't think it needs to get into a competition. I think as our government regroups, and yes, they're facing financial challenges, but I think education is not just a cost burden going forward. It's an investment in our future, in our recovery. So
I think if we were to
our city does go after our premier and gets this back on the table again, because that's a few years ago. And I think at this point, we're ready to take a new, fresh look at where we need schools, post-secondary schools in Ontario.
Mike, I think if we were going to be smart on how we approach it, though, obviously, I think the idea of a learning institution has changed. Certainly, courses are being offered online. Labs are still being offered in person. I think that anybody taking a look, first of all, they're a lot smarter than I am. on how to bring a university to reality, but I do think that they will take sort of our new reality into consideration. Perhaps I'm glad that they didn't do that a few years ago, because where would we be now? What kind of challenges would that institution be facing? But with that, with the growth of potentially a university locally here in Barrie, and also with an influx of residents moving to the area, it is absolutely imperative that we have the discussion that says supply and demand and prices will reflect, right?
Yeah.
The prices will reflect because we only have so much land. There's only so much building capacity. The prices will reflect probably in an upward trends. So those who live here now, who were thinking of making a move inside the Barrie and surrounding area, should they be thinking about doing it now? Should they be thinking about, a year or two from now, might they have to look outside the borders of the city of Barrie?
It will get progressively more expensive as we go forward, without a doubt. We will always be undervalued compared to what you would pay in the GTA. But as prices continue to go up there, so too will prices here. So long as demand is there, that will influence price. Unfortunately, with that, it's good for existing homeowners because their investment goes up in value. But for new young people buying in for the first time, it squeezes a greater and greater percentage of the population out of the game. And that's unfortunate. And that's going to see a shift in the dynamics. If you look at New York City or some of the bigger cities, the percentage of people that rent versus own is much higher. We're going to kind of shift in that direction. There'll be no choice but to see that. But for the moment and the foreseeable future, Barrie comparatively is still an affordable place to buy a house.
So, Mike, I was just having
the different stock. Sorry, I just want to finish that. More affordable housing stocks being introduced, higher density housing is one way to meet that. And the expectations for housing from a lot of new millennials and other younger people is different than older generations who wanted that big home with the half-acre lot. So everything will adjust, and I don't ever see a point where our properties start to decline in value. I can't see that would happen. A lot of negative things that are unforeseeable would need to happen for prices to start going the other way.
Yeah, I actually see the potential for inventory to increase in the GTA. Certainly in the downtown core, I do see a potential for that increased inventory. So you might actually see a slight dip in the housing prices in Toronto area, Toronto proper, while we see a similar increase in Barrie and surrounding area. I was, as I mentioned, just came out of Ottawa, had an opportunity to speak with a young couple who's buying their first home, and the average price of a house in Barrie was just completely out of the question for them. Certainly as a starter home, they're probably seeing in the and area just outside Ottawa, easily $100,000 more affordable housing for the same type of product that we see in Barrie.
Yeah, it's interesting. Different markets and their different valuations.
I think. What are your thoughts, though, Mike, around mass transit? Because there was certainly a premium to be paid for housing that was built along mass transit.
Yeah, well, we see the project that's continuing forward in its planning stages anyways, the Orbit in Innisfil. That's certainly going to be a major project if it happens. The annexation lands were certainly built with mass transit in mind, in and around the GO train. Barrie will continue to have to evolve and improve its transit capacity for residents as we go forward. But again, we are a car culture here for the most part, the way we're set up. That will shift and evolve, but I think I don't know what the answer is. I just know that the city is always going to have that on its plate. How do we improve our transit and how do we meet the demands? And the demands will certainly go up.
Well, Mike, we got to wrap this one up, but I want to thank you for bringing this conversation to light. I think you're right. None of us have the answers, but I definitely think more than ever, those who are making decisions and planning for the future have a lot on their plate and will continue to fine tune their predictions. We got to run. We're out of time, but I want to thank our audience and thank Rogers TV Barrie for making this show happen. We'll see you next time on Hitting Home with Mike and Arif.
See you later. Drive safe, Arif, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks.